I won't ask you to do that, I'll call it. Um, Virginia Lewis.
Here.
Tom Need.
Here.
Billy Nansen.
Here.
Brittany Hopper. Mike Catlett, here. So. We are now in session, and the agenda for tonight is, definitely focused on dealing with the information that Scott has sent to us. And we do, identify that we could have some public participation in the first 15 minutes. Did you start the recording, Keith?
Mhm.
Thank you. We don't have anyone else who's joined. So if you do, you can go there, so welcome them. Otherwise, we'll just, start moving the process forward. And we did run off copies of the low density residential district, and we found them there on the table at the fall at home. And then the other documents, we didn't run off a copy of the big reason, but we do have, I did send them to you, and at our last meeting, no one in the meeting, but you needed a hard copy, so I assume that you would have sent it to yourself. Okay, so Scott, we'll go back to you. And I guess we can just start by saying, okay, thank you. I thought the spreadsheets were very useful and helpful in terms of being able to look at those across the board and see how these issues compare. I don't know if you have any introductory comments that you want to make, so I'm going to turn it over to you and say, let's get into it.
Right, and especially if there's something message that maybe September meeting isn't gonna work, so that's fine, but maybe we should try to be quick.
What?
Yeah, there's that tonight, cause I feel like, I mean, there are a lot of, I know we're trying to accomplish a lot. And I know we haven't really talked about signs yet, and that's something to be done, but I wonder, and this doesn't have to be a big discussion, but you may want to take these in chunks to actually adopt them in chunks instead of waiting until the end, because it just feels like there's a lot of, in my mind, loose ends, and it'd be nice to maybe get to a point and adopt that, and then do the other. That doesn't affect us tonight.
And I appreciate the comment, because I think, you know, I was looking at it from the perspective, we got a lot of things that we need to, of course, be addressing, and there's some new history that keep coming from strategic plan. I don't know how many more they're going to give us. At the moment, it looks like they may give us, besides the one that we already have, maybe two. I don't know, so many, I don't even need something.
I felt like if they just would define part of the area up around the village and just put it in that operational district, just be done with it, but
Yeah.
they may see that different way.
And
And I was surprised, I guess I didn't notice, so our process is we review it and we send it. And then we get word back that it got adopted one way or the other, and then we get the final version. And then I put it actually in the document, send it back to guys to master. And I didn't realize on first reading that those two, like the 2-unit breaker and 3-unit breaker. I guess when I got to the trustees, they just said, let's just make it easy, right? And just do 1 3-acre or 3-unit area. So you kind of merge those two things. That was my assumption was that was the discussion. Why complicate it by having a swath of 2 and a swath of 3? Right, yeah. A little bit. Yeah. And I brought you a new big zoning map, by the way. It doesn't have, obviously, as of what's actually adopted.
well, that would have the overlay district, identified on it that has been approved.
Yeah.
That's good. be helpful for the, I think in terms of talking about that with the public. I don't know what keep playing, specifically playing here, but it could be, you have been talking about you need for the public.
Yeah, either you would do something on that, or you're gonna have, probably people on that.
Over on the east side along County Line.
Saturday, they're, let us know, or we will not stay with Facebook.
The meeting call. So do you wanna, so tonight we could do R2, and then,
Yeah, maybe we should do the R2. I'm hoping we can do that one relatively quickly. But let's see. I have high expectations, but that is necessarily the only thing. I mean, I went through it. I thought it did a great job.
yeah, I mean, just for the record, so because we have parcels that we determined are already R2, but the intent is not to let new people rezone to R2, but there's plenty of other options for them to use. That we would make sure that this didn't negatively impact, and in some ways maybe even positively impact the people that are already zoned R2. Realizing that the lots they have are certainly, I don't like the word grandfather, because I mean, they're legal non-conforming unless they meet these perfectly, but maybe some of them do, but most of them are smaller. So the intent was just to make this clean, not negatively impact anybody that currently is zoned R2, give them some options, maybe if they do want to build on. And they had an extremely, maybe, I noticed the side yard seemed wider than most of the existing houses, so maybe that would make that easier on that. So I then simplified the purposes, I don't know what it's purposes. Let's see, purpose. I didn't read that until right now. And then the application wouldn't be, applying for the rezoning, it would be the application of the district is. Problem is there's 2 or 3, and I put that in brackets. There are 2 parcels that, there's a Schnipke parcel zone C2 and a McFarland piece zoned FR1 for some reason that under the definition of these plats, those would change back to R2 unless they had to carve out. So unless they've been subsequently rezoned, which would affect those 2 guys, all lots located within this plat.
That's the,
Lawyer.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think.
she has rezoned. Didn't she? I'm pretty sure she can,
And that's basically what this is saying, so. Yeah,
Well,
it was.
that's, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to be asking about. I don't know about that as well. If that was the zone, it was going to take precedence. If they
Right.
Wanted to.
Yeah.
And then same, I don't know, the Todd McFarland, how did you get from the FR1?
Yeah, maybe because it was bigger, or maybe.
I didn't, I couldn't look it up, I didn't get a chance to see it.
I mean, I can point to it, it's not really, so I think he's got 2 parcels back on side. And he's. Not a wet line, but it's. Maybe I've got to use own several properties along the, including some of the. You may not do the family that's. I think just one, not for that.
Oh. So if there has been a rezoning action taken out there, where the rezoning has been approved, then we would be exempt from that. Otherwise, they would also be included.
Without that phrase, yes, what's the way to say?
So,
now, is this something where, since we're doing these specific areas, these property owners will be notified before this goes to the trustees, or
No, they won't
Okay.
consider it directly.
Okay, I just didn't know because they
There
were
will be
very.
notifications out. Actually, we change the district, but we don't notify specific property.
Okay.
And we did it previously for the Harlem and Center Village.
Mhm.
That was adopted and everyone basically that applied to them.
Yeah,
And it's beneficial, it's not taking anything away from it,
yeah,
it's helping them. But we didn't send anything out, but I recall when we did that.
I don't think so.
When you're affecting more than, or 10 or more lots, you're not required to, and sometimes if you. I mean, the public doesn't like the fact that we stick to what's required,
Yeah.
but if you do more for one case, then you don't do it, yeah, so.
Yeah.
I don't think we did, but enough people came out of their houses to ask us what we were doing when we were taking this. They all knew what was happening.
Oh, that's true. Walking around with a pink pencil.
I just wondered if these two property owners would be able to clarify, you know, if they were notified, but if they're not being notified, then that's fine.
We're not changing their zoning.
I'm sure it's just being rezoned.
Yeah. That would be, that's one thing you want to be sure about, and if they are already rezoned, they will do that process. After you done, you don't want to.
Yeah, because you want to be commercial, but yeah, they're all office.
Right.
So it's kind of the same, I guess, the last. That's in a large paragraph. The land area zoned R2 as it is amendment shall not be expanded.
It's a PC.
That means that whatever's R2 now remains R2. Nothing new will be held R2.
Right, and that's a conversation for using the word, I mean, I thought about using is not intended to. Leaving the door open. But then shall is kind of the intent, shall not. But yes, the idea was, don't look at this as something that you can try to.
Period.
I think we have enough other viable options with the conservation district and everything.
So these are small lots.
Yeah, there's a whole lot, everything requires sewers.
Which is interesting since they don't have it, but.
Yeah.
That was one of our observations.
I mean, does this require?
Can you leave this so it still requires sewer? Or did we take that out so
No,
that these can be conforming?
That phrase was in one of those first, yeah, the very under purpose.
Okay,
But there wasn't, I didn't see another place, I missed it, but like, you're not required to show how you're gonna do service.
are they all different enough sizes that there's not really a good way to make them all conforming by changing this somehow? Cause I know the goal is always to lessen the number of non-conforming lots, but they're all kinds of wacky sizes.
So that's what this,
I had that table.
Yeah.
So it's- but, you know,
if we,
things are kind of a mess.
Yeah, when we go down all the way to 0.2,
And point two was the size of a lot, or the size of those plotting lots.
yeah, well,
My concern was if you go down to the smallest, then maybe somebody with half an acre might try to, and again, it'd be really difficult to get an on-site system.
yeah,
Unless, you know, sewer eventually got up here, right, we're here. It's just right here. And the intent would be to finally service an area of really small lots like that.
yeah,
They take a long time, but then someone tries to, oh, well, I can now do 3 lots. Because this says my minimum is 0.2.
but does that shall not be used in the future, whatever, shall not be expanded
The land's outside of the,
of those areas, so one's within those 2 foot line.
The only,
Okay.
the only concern I have, with the actual boundaries. The R2 district, are what's shown on the thumbnail map.
Well, didn't we do something in Marla?
yeah, they're in there. But,
Document 11. And there is, like you were saying before, there is talk about, developing a walkable category area. The area within the pipeline, basically, the medium, restructure, maybe commercial, maybe the. And then there's a lot of parking around there, there's a park, there's recycling, there's things that bring people into the area. And then if you could develop, like, a convenience store, ice cream shop, coffee shop, like, a lawyer, you know, just something where we'll draw people into the center village area. We limit that, our options, let's say, it's not gonna get any bigger, it's kind of small.
Not at the overlay.
I don't see. I'm confused on that, I don't see how that's even applicable.
No, well, then, maybe I mean, if we're saying we wanna have a center village area that is characterized by these kinds of small lots, but we don't wanna make any more of them. Even once we get to them, they would be bought by a lot. Are we restricting that option by saying don't make them bigger?
Yeah, the overlay district allows for smaller things, though, right? They don't have that already.
You haven't created the overlay district yet.
And we're not even sure that it will be an overlay district, it's gonna be developed.
Well, if that area, if there is new zoning adopted for that area, and this area that we're talking about that's currently covered with this, then potentially that area could either be automatically included in the zoning, or they could request a change in zoning.
He's saying that an area to the outside of this boundary now could be included in an overlay area, and if somebody wanted to go down, they could then make smaller lots.
I thought the overlay that we were doing, the center village was going to be larger than HCD, whatever.
Well, the area will, yeah, well, you're talking about the gross area that will be included, yeah.
That really focused on it, so I think, and there's an idea about reaching all the way to the south. And having all of that as a walkable area between downtown and the ground school, and having a development in that area that have a interior walkable area. And maybe getting food district for the middle school. And population wants it, and there's room. All of this.
Well, I don't see that as being conflict with this. You,
Unless we somehow say that it can't be expanded based on how the new area is written. Because if it's,
The key was to keep this, to not rewrite this for that purpose, to try to keep it simple, because it's got pretty minimal language already compared to other districts, so.
so then maybe let's push through with this, finish this up, and then you'll have a finished copy of this when you go to do that overlay. And that overlay can, if it's adopted over top of this, it can supersede this, right?
Well, listening to it, it may not even have to supersede the area that's R2, it will just have an overlay in an ARFR area, which would allow inside lot, and maybe downtown.
Well, that's the time when you get into the, I mean, you could even just take your two mixed use of the stuff, again, to keep it simple. I mean, all that work that's been put into the 8-12 along the south, why not just bring it off that, in another, in the middle. But, I mean, that has so much more detail, and to put all that into something like this,
no, I'm
that
not.
impacts everybody here.
This was, the whole intent for this is simply to allow us to bring these existing laws into compliance, into conformity.
Yeah, but it sounds like we're not even gonna do that with most of them, because their sizes are too small.
There's nothing that talks about lots of,
let me, oh yeah, that reminds me. So
a lot of area.
there is a lot of areas that,
That the effective date of this amendment is zoning ordinance in accordance with federal law, to be considered legal
Okay,
law.
okay.
So they are legal law.
Yeah.
And so,
I forgot I said.
and
Yeah.
you don't have to specify anything about size.
I had missed that we had taken the 1 acre out. So no, that answers my question then.
And so the reason this looks so minimal is for at least the last 15 years, they've not been looked at.
That's not what they're doing.
I don't
No,
know.
But that, I mean, what he's taking out, what he's deleting, I think it's all appropriate.
Well, it's not-
my belief as I read through it.
It's not a planned district, the way it's written.
Right.
It's like FR one or A.
You're right,
It's
exactly.
just lot size.
And, we're not, we've written it, or what you've written here, and if you get adopted, it won't be applied anywhere else. It only applies to these existing laws. Which is what we did for Harlem, the center for.
Yeah, I have no issue with that.
I did have a question on Frank here, man.
I just mentioned that I took out roadside sales of ag products
right.
as it's
Um,
typically in your FR one, AR one, and all townships have that.
Right.
Because it has to do with lot size, but, you know, you're not growing this stuff on your own.
and that's right, and that's why I thought it was good to take that out. Then I had a question then I had, related back to that, under additional uses of home occupation. Yeah. 904,
Yeah, I just thought that too.
my question is, as I read that,
You could have
can we
somebody,
delete that?
you could have somebody with a couple of beehives. You could have somebody with a chicken.
See, but then we're talking about parking areas, and outside of the right of ways,
I mean, it's under conditional uses, so you'd have to. You're not just giving everybody that openly here, or by right, that's what I should say. They still have to come and ask, and they still have to make the argument that maybe they live up here, but they own 20 other acres somewhere, and that's where they do all that, but they're more on a.
Well, okay.
Road, but again, yeah, parking's an issue on.
Use for retail sale of agricultural products, provided that at least 50% of the goods come from the market. Derived from the sale of products which are produced on land in this
In the
town.
township, yeah. So it doesn't have to be that
Doesn't
parcel.
have to be that parcel,
Or Jensen Township.
or adjacent town. Farmed by the proprietor of the state stand. So, you know, we're providing the opportunity, you can't do it with a temporary structure, but we're providing the opportunity with the permanent structure.
That does make me question though, the roadside sales. I mean, the same is true for your beehives there.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of agricultural goods are seasonal. I don't see why you would want a permanent structure for seasonal.
I know, but that, you know, if we're gonna take out the seasonal one, then, why do we want this in?
Do you think the person that I passed with the flower cart, that's not permanent? And because it's smaller than it's obviously not attached to the ground, it's probably just roll it out. So that wouldn't even be.
Well, there are,
But that would be roadside sales, wouldn't it?
It would be, but it's not. We don't allow that, and that's a permanent structure.
I personally feel like if we're gonna take out one, the F is the one to take out, because I think we're a lot more likely to have a little rollout cart with your flowers or honey on it than a permanent
permanent.
structure.
Well, that's why I wanna make sure about that, because it's, sort of, you know, in this way,
And we have so many people telling us that they want to preserve the rural character that benefits kids. You know, these kind of roadside stands kind of are that.
Yeah,
well,
They can have a couple of maple trees.
potentially, if we're gonna keep one, we could do that, but then they don't necessarily have to produce. If they produce on land, it doesn't say that it has to be on that particular property.
And I don't see why we would have to require that.
I don't
If the farm
I'm not,
has other,
but I think what, Ken is saying, is maybe we leave in, and take F out. On the, occupation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good thought.
So, what do you think, folks? What do you think on that one?
put me back in and take out that.
E is under, 903, under, permitted use. And that would be a permitted use, it's not under home occupation. The other one is conditional, it's under home occupation. And we were gonna take that one out, yeah. I mean, that's what we're discussing.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, that would have a discussion, I agree, it's more reasonable. Having listened to the discussion, okay. Got that, Scott?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna put E back, okay, under 903. And take F out under section 904.
Yep.
Under 904, conditional use is a home occupation. You read like limited home occupation, but I don't know if we want to specify that, we'll call it out that way. We got limited and expanded home occupation. It does not allow for expanded home occupation.
Well, that's because we raise the issue of, you know, having additional employees parking, stuff like that.
Right. But there's nothing, I don't think there's any definition for home occupation. It's limited and expanded.
I mean, you would change that, but this section went up. And then the definition,
Very good. That's the fine.
Home occupations are five on page 4 and 6.
Says home occupation.
it doesn't specify anything, yeah, limited home occupation. It's not a big definition.
So with, the roadside sale of agricultural product. Like, every day. It's bigger and bigger and bigger, not too big, but other businesses like that. I'm saying agriculture is good, but sometimes they crafting or, you know. Trying to take, trying to walk them down that area.
Sometimes that's what some of the conditional for the home occupation. So the roadside sales are not part of home
You know
occupation.
what? It's not under home occupation. Look at that sales, if you want to do that as home occupation, it's possible, I think.
But if you want to sell it from the house. It won't, show them up, show them along the road.
Not agricultural good.
So I'm saying it's not agricultural, allowing agricultural water to allow small scale.
There's nothing that's prohibited, so you just have to get approval for it to operate as a home occupation. Does he have that now? Probably not.
Well, not good, but,
Okay,
but that doesn't mean sell along the road. And I don't see anything in here that gives the BPA
well,
the right to say can or can't.
he
Is
said,
he in this RZ or is he in Nebraska?
the stand and his parking area shall be outside the road right of way, and his is not, so he's already in violation.
Which way you,
That's roadside sales.
Under roadside sales.
I
You
think,
can't do that legally, what he's doing is plain and simple, not legal.
I think he's in the historic district, not that that's going to give him the go-ahead to do it, but I don't think he's in this new area, because isn't he along?
I have complained about it to the trustees. I've complained to the sheriff's department. There's an accident waiting to happen. And when it happens,
Well, that's true even in
People are
our
gonna get sued.
business.
So just right
the
here.
township
where it
will
gets
be
really
sued
bad.
along with the
Yeah,
property,
yeah,
because you can't see.
Yeah.
Hey, have you used that street? You come out of that street, you can't see because of the cars parked in the road right of way, and because he's got these display out front. So, I think it's there's a potential real problem there. You know, it hasn't happened yet, but it could happen.
And Tom, are you trying to ensure that the VGA had the ability to say no to that, or are you trying to make sure that he had the ability to say yes?
But risk of compensation, I don't see where they're even given that option. And maybe they should, because it's in the road right away, it's not a zoning question. so.
And I think the reason that it's not, that there's no. Anything goes to the VGA, I think the fact that, so in your FR1 and AR1, you have limited, which is by right, and then you have expanded, which goes to VGA. I think because these lots are smaller, to your point, closer to your neighbor, probably closer to the road. That's why a board needs to look at it and say, is this gonna be fair? But that's not, I mean, that's not your question, but I thought I would say that's probably why there's only one option, and that's to go to VGA. Because you're closer to neighbor. Yeah, I don't think there's home occupation, I think that's road frontage. And it's not agriculture. Not agricultural, it's growing.
The whole purpose of that whole section,
I should have brought it, link it, yeah, the same.
it's just there in the first place because we're agriculture.
Yeah.
That's why it's included. So, we're not prohibiting him from operating, if he wants to continue to make the sign, he's not doing, he can do that. Well, he does it,
We want to know.
and so far,
Does anybody want to know what he does or no?
that's the thing, you know, he continues to do it, and someone doesn't call the sheriff, shut him down. Because he's doing it in the road right away.
but it sounds like you've already done that, nothing's happened to it.
They moved the car temporarily in the back,
Yeah. It was pretty clear there for a while.
yeah, but now they're back.
Or what?
Time to the sheriff again.
One of the small point, first of all, on the purpose. So that first thing, from the owner. Provide areas for single family, suburban type residential development. I think that's suburban type.
I agree, I probably focused more on the fact that there should have been a hyphen, than what that.
I mean, if you say single family rural type of.
Yeah.
What that means.
Single family residential development should be sufficient.
The right area is the single family residential. That's what you want, I don't. There any other changes that we want to just discuss? Otherwise, we'll move forward and, look at the final draft. We'll do next time.
Yeah, I do like keeping things like, limiting the language. As he said,
Oh, okay. We're talking about the right.
who's thinking about
I told a while ago, we couldn't do anything about lighting or sound. Enforcement wise.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, without being able to do a word search.
That was something that was on the model.
But
That
there-
even had, you didn't do the model.
There's something on the next, the last
Check out that
slide,
whole step.
the very last page, so.
Right.
All exterior lighting shall meet the lighting requirements of Article 21, which says that if you wanted to say all downcast with the, cut off fixtures, you could put it there.
I think it is important. And we had this discussion with somebody, I was trying to draw in there.
Then the,
No, it should be on in 21. Because then you have to follow section 21, so I wouldn't stop.
yeah, and the development.
But I'm not sure they do.
All right, that might be something we need to fix the development and the development there.
Yeah, I mean, it should show you the consultant that goes to Article 21.
Page,
I
well,
know, I find
page
it.
2111.
There for the landscape, because very well.
Well, it is minimal, which is helpful from a enforcement standpoint, but lighting shall be adequate to promote safety residents and should be shielded and directed so as not to interfere with the building residents and that property. Exterior lighting shall be directed so as to control light trespassing going on big properties and public roadways and reduce atmospheric lighting.
I think the only reason that lighting bill was addressed in, we are, it's our one, so we can go to that section for the model home. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been.
No, there's also discussion, and it does say direct people to Article 21, so that's fine. I had no idea where that section on the last page is going.
Oh, the last page.
The stuff, yeah. So that is good. I just got confused.
Oh, yeah, then, landscape on the board. Okay.
A bottom of the sixth page, on the very side. The second part of the owner or developer of the subdivision, no area. That is,
I'm sorry, what?
this is, page 6 under J, sign. The second paragraph.
Since we're not allowing anything new, that doesn't.
Oh, right.
Oh, that can be deleted, yeah, that's fine. Good catch. Well, we're gonna, we're gonna leave the bunch of them behind it.
No,
It's something that you get from.
It'll definitely be down the bottom. Well, I shouldn't say that, it'll definitely be down the street, right now, without that. The night is on fire.
So we hear about 9.2, which can be in the forum. stuff like, it's not, how we're gonna write it. Actions or we got it, or what we don't, should have them.
Yeah, I think so. What we will need to do,
I gotta think about the previous one.
I didn't know what word.
Previous one or and something.
And subsequent is that after today? I was thinking subsequent after the original approval of the code, or whatever.
we've had someone join our meeting, Don Carter. Don, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you very good.
Good, thank you. We have the system working again, it's wonderful. Could
I can
you
put it
identify, and give us your address, please, so we can record that for purposes of, having a public record for a meeting.
5797 Plantation Road, Sunbury, Ohio.
797 plantation.
He owns property.
If we just turn up the volume on my computer, will that convert speaker louder or?
Yeah, it should.
Thank you.
That should be better, yeah.
You can hear the tone now. All right. Thank you, Don.
So like subsequently or previously or subsequently. Or the unless we don't.
Oh, I had.
That's why we thought you might not mind missing next one.
I really believe in this would be is a reason, it's not without this stuff. And it shouldn't be on food because it is a lot.
I'm like Jody, I'm fairly confident that, you know, 90% sure that he.
I don't think I was here then, so.
And that's not, I mean, that's fine, that's not the issue, right? Because they're in one of these plats. So unless you say that, it would, I don't know that it would rezone them back to R two, that it would cause confusion down the road. And that's why, without mentioning them by name, which you could, you know, unless they've been rezoned at some point in the past, or something other than R two, I just didn't know a good way to say that.
We can also apply for rezoning in the future though, right?
Yeah.
So couldn't we just say unless rezoned? Cause I mean, somebody else could come to us for C two.
Or go down the cloud bigger.
Well, the cloud is not in existence there yet.
Well, I'm at the HC.
All right, we would have to,
I don't think that's a cloud, is it? I think that's just space zoning.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we just say unless rezoned and take out subsequently or previously or whatever.
that seems reasonable to me, I don't know why it wouldn't work that way.
And because we'll know not to change the zoning map based on this adoption, so then it'll be zoned that way and we'll,
Yeah.
even if we forget why we did this, it'll be on the zoning map.
Yeah, because the zoning map already shows these properties right on it too.
Yeah.
But for heat.
Yeah. I can just
So
say,
take out the word subsequent.
okay. Okay. Senior Center Village, correct? So it's Center Village Edition.
That's why, you have a copy of it?
So you were
Somewhere.
in the village.
Yeah.
That was in the HCD. Whatever.
Is that not in the list?
Let's see. Okay, go.
The Center Village and the South Side and the Centerville Edition were the ones that are specifically in the HCDR one. Everybody Town Class, the 1853 Centerville Edition. And the 1849 Harlem Town Class, and 1848. So there's three
There's three in the bill.
that are in
And maybe we should all.
Article 17.
It was call out in 902. They're all on two.
No,
No.
those are, HCDR one.
But I put them on the list that they were on.
They're not our two. They're HCDR one.
And they're conformed.
They're already complete.
So, the only, you're saying. The Centerville had. Is it text? And that's what you're on.
Centerville edition is listed here, 1853 Centerville edition.
Chapter 19, Article 19.
I don't.
It's right here, though. Black and white. 1853 Centerville.
So, then it doesn't have to go in here, because it's already a conforming lot under a different use plan.
But I need to go back and check the map and make sure that it's showing up as
HCDR
one.
And not,
and not right now our two.
yes,
Because that makes
That's,
makes
I
sense.
understand now what he's doing, as he's going. Well, that's good, check that, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Not having the auditor site in front of me. I wonder if could there be a Center Village edition and
Centerville,
because they were initially platted as a Centerville,
Right. 1848.
so we can't make the assumption that it's the same.
They're not the same. The Centerville class was originally 1848. The Centerville edition was.
but what it does is this is two words, center, village, not Centerville.
Those may be there may be a third.
well, this one says within limits of the 1848 Centerville, parentheses, later called Center Village Town Plat. Either way, I think none of us truly have an answer until we check the auditor's website.
And don't forget it also includes the 1849 Harlem Town Class.
I don't know.
You're not listed on here. It's apparently they were not artists.
Yeah, so it's just figuring out if the Center Village wants to use R2. And either adding it to the R2, or if it's just HCDR and making sure it's labeled that on the building.
You have the years. With the years,
1848 and 1853.
Yeah, these properties, they show the year that they were built. You know, other than, well, we got one that was built in 1902,
But
and then we got one that was just built last year. That one might have been outside like that, because that one's in the middle of the law.
was included in the town plat.
It might have been.
Buildings were constructed after the towns were platted, or the villages were platted.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I don't know offhand whether or not that lot would have been included in the original town plat or not. You have to look at the town plat. too. I'm sure that some of those definitely. And it's on 605, but the one, this one here, is gonna go really, I think, too far.
We have those old flags. They
thought
keep
we were-
on entertaining for
We
very
have all the
long.
information that he presented to the zoning commission when they made these changes.
Yeah, we should be on file, should be. So that you can pull out. That you find that anyway.
Yeah.
That would be a part of the file.
So Scott, you'll check the details of that paragraph. Yeah. One or the other, whatever you find.
Global version of it.
If it,
The key would be, is there a Center Village ad and a Centerville ad, so that'd be two different areas.
if it's Center Village addition, that would be something that we, I don't know, what we were doing with the basement on those original plats, well, there wasn't a original town plat, and then there was the amendment that was. But the most recent one is that 1863. But we no longer call that area Centerville, we now Center Village.
Yeah. Right.
So, I think the last one I would be the same area, but it has to be verified. Right. And if necessary, Scott, we can have DG go back into the, records from the zoning commission and find those original documents that we adopted to harm in a village residential district. Because those documents are part of that, that clearly identifies which lots are included. I thought, I'm not sure what the zoning officer submitted that at the time, of course.
I think I still have stuff that you and I worked on and submitted copies to everyone who was on the zoning commission at that time. But I,
We had a listing of that.
Leave my house. I just feel
it's just not their deal to get to it for a couple of years.
We're not gonna get this adopted that quickly, but, at least we'll be able to verify that, these properties are either zoned HC, DR1 or they are zoned R1. Gotta be one of them, right? So that's the one thing that. Other than that, we don't have any other wording changes in the document. All right, that's good. Dave Harvest. Our two, is getting close to being finalized. Now, taking a look at the other documents that you sent. Dealing with the procedures for the plan of business.
Do you want to do procedure or?
I'm looking at the first one, Scott, the one that, you have labeled, the language for the application procedure.
Yeah.
Is simple article.
Right.
We're going through that, so that if we, the goal here would potentially be to have one procedural article that would apply to all the plan districts. And so you created those spreadsheets, look at what is currently in the existing plan district. None of these are overlays. These are just, like I guess, a better term, we call them straight plan districts. And as I went through and I looked at them, I looked at it from a perspective of trying to identify if what you have in the first column opposed to those.
And just to remind everybody, although you probably already know, the reason there's so much red in that first column is that we already walked through all that. right?
Yeah. But what I was trying to do, was looking at what the language is there, and seeing if in fact it seems reasonable for it to apply to the other one. And as I went through them, my reaction overall, this is an overall comment, is that once in the PRD, seems to pretty much work well for people. But I'm not so sure that all of the language will work in PCD or Yankee because of the way that we made. So the only one that we utilize really is the PCD. So there's a lot more requirements under the PRD than we ever have in the past applied to PCD.
I think that kind of mirrors what we had to do with the overlay district, where the procedures for mixed use is different from the procedure for you got two sets of procedures, one for more commercial, industrial, and one for residential. I think that's what you get.
Yeah.
Residential doesn't really work well with industrial or commercial.
Well, part of the reason I think also is because there's no minimum lot size or tract size for the PCD or the together. So, you know, all things related to open space, if you've got 2/10 of an acre, and you're getting in some PCD, how do you plan for open space? There's nothing there to do.
But it's one, there wasn't any.
No. There's no lot size with it, or tract size.
Well, right, but why don't we go row by row? Cause you're getting into the development details.
Yeah, I'm not sure, that's a good point, I don't know how to address that. And when you look at, okay, the first, if we go row by row, the first row seems like to me that would fit across all four.
Right. That's just a different way of saying the same thing, so
Yeah.
it should all be the same.
And then the next one, the second row, seems like that would fit all four.
Right, do you think maybe the PUD? Well, I think some of that row in under PUD is captured under. I can work with that to make the next two more similar, because I think.
Yeah, I agree, I noticed that, I mean, when I say it fit, some of this language that's over here and under the PUD, like you just identified, it picked up somewhere else, but it doesn't necessarily have to. You will work out the details on that.
It was written more recently than the PRD part.
Doesn't-
But it feels like when I read it that it came maybe from a different model, maybe from a different county, is that, did he Greg work on that with you guys? Yeah. They might have pulled that from somewhere, so the same stuff is there, it's just a little bit different maybe spot, yeah. But
The structure of it. The organization.
I think almost that whole page. You know, again, yes, open space, may be applicable in they may have open space.
Yeah, depending on, because, just because we've not had someone come in and say they've got 15 acres and they wanna do a PCD or 15 acres. That would be a lot different than anything we've ever dealt with, because all we've ever dealt with for PCD has been one kind of single use. That the applicant is interested in doing. And 5 acres. Yeah, usually in that one.
Yeah, probably,
The
like,
largest lot was probably the one down there. With the, Story. Everything else, basically,
Charter,
yeah,
and that, you know, the trees. When you look at coverage, you got a well, up by the road. Then he's got 3 or 4 barns. Then he's got pile. The open space, those piles.
well, it's not a matter of that, it's if you required open space, then you would define that up front.
Yeah.
Has to be set aside and
yeah, that would not fit. What we would identify as being open space.
Right. And he's not gonna have connected open space, he's looking at that place. Of business. And how's he gonna run a business?
Yeah, and he doesn't want anybody nearby, really. He doesn't want to get into a walking trail or anything like that.
You know, walk.
No.
And he's got a pond and he's got stuff, all kinds of stuff back there. So I think that open space and that kind of model is just okay. Find ways to define open space. With your example, storage, yeah.
I mean, all the space down there, pretty much, I mean, we basically all use, just like the dealers for the most part, to have,
Right, and.
We did a lot of landscaping for the storage place and it was quite well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then you've got, storage, outside storage for RVs, heaters, but not built up. Gravel. I think trying to define open space and what the idea of.
well, I marked those over here. But I think it's still, if we put comma, if applicable, as far as what they would. If for some reason they wanna, we're gonna go right next to this other neighborhood, and so we wanna put open space in, you still wanna see it on your development.
That would be more about the setback.
Yeah.
But if this development right beside it has a walking path that, we said you had to be have to be a connected kind of thing, so if there's a stub leading into this next property.
Then they're applying for TV, who would want it to continue through that process.
Yeah, but we're gonna list this in one spot, right? And all these plan districts are gonna refer to it. It needs to be written in such a way that if it doesn't apply to everybody, we say if applicable. Unless we get into something that's just.
Yeah, and, I think, I thought we should really say, people have to do this. Wants to be able to do, wants to be able to really say.
We can handle that over here in saying that it's not applied.
And.
We're not going through this table yet, which is the one that defines what you need in each district. This is just what you're requiring to be shown to you on your development plan as part of the application. If they're gonna show you, if you're doing a planned residential district or a planned commercial district, this is where you're gonna look to see the list of what you need to put on your development. So if you're required to have open space, you're gonna see open space. And it needs to be shown. If you're not, it's gonna say it's applicable and anything like that.
Well, so I ignore that. Okay.
So the key would be to
They need that connection, but so they really have to look at both. They have to look at the procedure, yeah. But they also have to look at specific, type of plans that they want.
Yeah.
And if it says there, if applicable, they won't put it in, you know, submit the initial application, but that will potentially they do. Because under a PCD, it may not be identified as something that we have to do.
I think they're gonna pay more attention to within each district of what the requirements are.
And the
And
general,
this is more generic of things addresses proposed size and location.
yeah,
And then these things, you know, signage, I'm not sure why none of the other three plan districts even reference sign. Unless it captures it somewhere else and says, you know, hand signs, and I just didn't see it. But certainly you want, if they're gonna put a sign up, you want to see it on the development plan.
really.
You know, always having just specific information on phone.
Well, again, it probably requires it over here, but it didn't have it on the list of what needs to be put in here. Put on the development.
We have a development standard in, PCD.
Okay.
Development standard.
Right, and you think a reasonable person putting together a development plan would need to be told, you need to include signs if they're required. But I bet,
You think?
I bet it's a good. You know, it's not to complicate things, but you're sending your mixed use districts and your conservation district to that one other code, right? We're still confident that we want to send people to one procedure, so that we don't miss something, right? We don't make a change in one district and then we forget to do it in another.
Right.
Very good.
Guess I would. And I'm gonna ask you that, and it seems like you're suggesting in the last comment there that you do see it feasible for us to go that route and having one set of procedures that's gonna be applicable to all four.
I think what's currently in there is similar enough. Until you kind of get back to that last page where you kind of take a little bit more doing, try to get the purpose. And the application and the procedure, try to,
No. Let me, the overlay. Article 31. Procedure to apply for mixed use overlay. That's next. And Article 32. Is procedure to apply conservation subdivision.
true, yeah, you're right. But then the conservation district that you have right now, we're gonna reference to that same procedure.
We've written in the intent that yes, you being established. And for the bowling, the PRC.
Yeah.
Right, but we still, I mean, I think when we did this, we saw we weren't gonna be able to get both under one. We were just gonna, it would be something too much to have to leave out, depending on whether you're going residential or commercial. Not, I'm still not convinced that this chart here doesn't lead us in the same direction. That we've got, you already, yes, residential.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, and I don't think we've wasted any effort, because I think we can still make these more consistent, and we still identified with conservation that it was a mishmash of procedure and requirement. And I think having all the requirements in one place and the procedure still within each article and make them more similar. I think this is still a good exercise.
Yeah.
So I don't want to push you into having all planned procedures in one spot, but we can certainly make them more. Because it doesn't seem like everybody super excited about making people turn back to one place to do the procedure. And that's okay. And maybe I'm just reading.
Comments?
I think you really need room for it.
I mean, there's, and we talked about this since we started, right? There's value in having everything in one place. Even though you still have to go over there for sound and you have to go over there for landscaping, but most of what you need in PRD is here in this article. On the other hand, you say, well, we don't want 13 copies anymore, we want 10. And now you gotta do a word search and make sure you catch it in all. And I still think your fees ought to be in one spot, and just report everybody. Now, those are on our page, but that's another. Well, not the.
The whole
actual
like
fee.
legal disclaimer, but that was something that Holly said she absolutely would not budge on since we got legal counsel on that. You saying that whole paragraph of fees in like all our new overlays, we should just simply have like a fees article, go there, look there. Right,
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the language. I just thought,
why do we need it in 5 different places? We have to just put it in one.
the township requires fees, and there's a definition of what fees are. And then fees as described in article, whatever, but I mean.
Well, and then true, too, with that, since they do change every year, you know, that would be one page of the document that could be swapped out each year, you know, see article, whatever for fees, and
But
then
you,
if they included
but
that.
you still don't list the fee,
Yeah.
just the description of how you.
Yeah, you don't, the fees won't be listed within the article, no.
Well, what I'm saying, we potentially could if we had it as like one page that just got inserted in each year, just as an easy, like, here they are, but. We wouldn't need to.
I wouldn't recommend that.
I'm afraid to do that,
And that's fine, we don't have to.
because,
There you go.
yeah. By having the fees and then, just referencing them in general.
Yeah, that's fine, I'm not saying we need to put this.
I think that's easier to manage in terms of, getting the information to the potential applicant. And making sure that it's kept accurate and current. Because it does, potentially the fees will change from one to the next, as you pointed out. And I think we're looking at possibly making the recommendation. Okay, Scott, what, at this point, what's your recommendation in moving this whole process forward? Based on the feedback.
Well, would you rather me take it's on the procedure page? Would you rather me go ahead and make each of these columns more similar with the red line version?
I think as much similarity as we can find throughout the document is definitely the better, and then even if we have things in different places, at least if they're as close to one another as they can be,
If they're the, yeah,
then I think that is helpful. I mean, even like building height, we had a different definition for building height, a bajillion different places, and it takes forever to find, so as much of this, even if just the language can be written in the same way, so that when you do a word search, it all pops up, I think that is helpful.
yes, and then if the decision is ultimately made that we're not gonna have one set of procedures that applies to all 4, and then you put the procedures out within each individual district. They still would be, they would be more similar because of the exercise that we had.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah.
Come the same time.
Yes, yeah,
So it's, I think that, I do consensus because that's still worthwhile.
and, yeah, so you will work on bringing, looking at the application procedures section, bringing language back to us that will be more similar in all 4 columns. Yeah, okay. Everybody on board with that?
Where
And are you gonna try to keep the, section numbering? So 01 will be purpose, so 2 will be application. So, I mean, is that,
Well, ideally, Yeah, but some of them are, and especially PUD, I just don't know how they ended up being so. You know, one you're in A, B, and C, because you're just under a paragraph, and then others you're 1, 2, 3 because you're already under a B. So I have to go ahead and take a look at both of them, but, and if the procedure moves after, then quickly, either gonna throw it all out of whack anyway, or there's gonna be a good opportunity to remember.
Well, that's good. Let's stay on the job, we've got big technical problems.
Recording's still going fine. Something in the internal.
Oh, sure, it doesn't sound it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good, but
Is it in that podium down low?
yeah, something's actually wrong with the computer. It's in the computer. Sounds like it's the fan. It's not actually affecting anything. It just sounds
Really
horrible. But yeah, computer's actually running fine. I'm gonna guess they left some plastic on it, and I'm gonna guess it's overheating. Yeah, that's fine. Continue.
brand new computer that's plastic out, that's fucking crazy.
Cool. Since we have, finally, we wanna skip over to the on the other table where you're actually looking at. Images, you're in data,
I can either.
well, I still thought that no, not everybody has to be similar.
Definitely.
But my friend, I wouldn't be able to do that.
I still have a lot of day, I'm daily my printer because my lovely husband likes to stack stuff on the desk in front of it. So. That might be where my copy is still. Jammed somewhere in the printer around with over top. I don't know.
Yes, yes. So we're not 8.5 by 14. We'll, that's. Oh, there it is.
Well, it wasn't in it, but I know how crappy it works, but I had to take your safe one. What crazy perfect. I didn't want to go over big desk drawers, I thought it was. A little too. But now I did get it on good paper, but still just the small print that you're part of it, it's lots of space to learn. Okay. Let's your otter again, that shows really big paper, but left is the small text at the top, so. It'll work.
Yeah, under application. I think I need to bring them out to learn more from.
Also an application, we just have the number 40, not our typical word 40, parentheses, number 40. We're talking about consistency.
Guys, they don't have a.
That law, but it's just like a commercial on what 2 cents an acre or something. So, we have-
Then they put the. Now the township owns it, so.
financial. Things like that. And especially something like that. Then a buffer it from the person at all. And, I mean, I suppose, I think. Yes.
Having that discussion about.
A PID does say at the top, the general welfare of the parent being habited, so with some of ours, don't say, either, you know, meets that something or doesn't, and we're not allowed to look too much at general welfare. This, immediately, so you can look more at that, so it's, you know, an asphalt plant embedded between 50 houses, you know, that's, maybe.
Also, there's, only different roles for.
Allowed in districts, but not in churches.
Well, that's my understanding. Okay. I haven't heard much talk about that. It's always hard to get an attorney to pinpoint exactly what general welfare is.
Well, the very same term.
It just means that you can coordinate with the developer without it being contract. Yeah. Because it's done well. So when you do this, why do you do that? Because it's for the general welfare. Well, the one thing that we do though is that you can't, you know, is that it's.
Well, we can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think you need to worry about that, because that doesn't really apply in commercial and industrial. I do think there's some clarification in the PUD without changing really any language. I can move those to other places and give them a header in that way. I think a lot is trying to happen in that first, and then in the paragraph, they need to be spread out. Oh, see that, I agree with you. So, that's what I think, work on, well, if you want, yes, in the letter.
But not more to, I think, when it's the purpose of business. Pick up one.
I have the file.
There is a definition, a five-part definition in our definition. Jurisdictional wetlands, floodplains, slopes greater than 20%, utility right of ways, existing non-conforming. Like this. Yes. This is utility right of way easements or above ground infrastructure, utility structures such as above ground pipelines or open electric transmission, service wires that exist prior to the update. That I believe so. This is April 16, 2022. So it's a net developable area parentheses acreage. So I think it's currently sort of defining them both in the same way, but they're, I see your point there, not, so they need to be. Yeah, what is that?
Well, yeah, I think you're saved by it. Reckon 10%, well. So it's not just A, B, C, D, and E. You're also taking 10% out for. Assuming that you're in the way.
Oh, yeah.
So, now I could. Sometimes with that 50, that's too much to cut right off the file. Find a different number for your density rather than have a number that you need and just flat 15%. One. So. Sense of how you Well, it sounds like you don't wanna require a open space. Because it wouldn't be set aside in the way on the lot anyway. So I think you would, seems like you're gonna handle open space by, by setback.
Saying it then requires even more open space because you can only count that towards.
That's what I think the solution to that would be. That may not be a good thing, but doesn't be a good.
Yes, you've got.
That point, otherwise, like, my dog, I don't need any more open space. That's all we need to potential. The idea is, no, there's nobody, they can use it, but they're not gonna sell good.
Like the radiation. Girls.
But, and I realize there is a north-south, you deal with that, right? So it's on the edge of that, not big stuff, but it's not gonna be everywhere. So kind of a worst case scenario, but yeah, the level of. And they're not talking about that.
Wherever it's easy for them.
Let's go on, that's all nice discussion, but it's not relevant to it. Right. So that 20%.
Then we talked about taking the CRD. And with our saying this is the only one, we wanted to go for CRTD. We stipulate somehow, if you are over 25 acres, you must do the CRTD map, so then, or people just split it in half and then do it. Then it's
What if somebody wants to know, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but they didn't really want to
Well-
develop them, they just wanted to have them themselves.
Well, this is in an environment where this sort of thing may have a chance of getting done. So they would do this and not split it up. So the thought would be split it up and then do 2 yards, and then you still have to go to the next road. So if you're willing to just divide it up, you might as well, right, I mean, you can't really. So I mean, you read it, all the problems.
Well, that's what I'm saying, don't change this necessarily, but see if we can find a way to see happy. What about them? What if it's protection and the child? And don't that thing in the budget, but he said he did it, and he said it was, between 20 and 50% of that. This can work for me. Yeah.
One thing is, teletime, nothing, this won't affect teletime at all, because that was adopted today. So, that's on the shelf where it was. Can we? I mean, if we were to change this, we would protect teletime. Yeah, the way, and they probably may have some good urgency to maybe change it from the way the code is written now. And whatever development plan gets adopted or approved, is the layout, and then there's that whole. Kind of thing, because what is what we were talking about comes from. That's how land districts work, yeah, that's okay. And then say you choose to want to apply it, so, change. Basically makes the R two will affect people in location.
Because it's not a plan.
Not a plan. Yeah. So we would, what, I think we would think about that, we would use it.
So we put
You know, we are using the same way that. So you can, do not affect what was already previously approved for under the PO. We can say that
anything.
so we do a minimum lot size. And it would affect it. That's part of it, that's the logic.
We could take CRD and get it to basically look the same as CRTD, but say something like, if you have 10 acres, you need this much open space, if you have 20 acres, you need this much open space, if you have 30 acres, you need this much, and sort of like put it in different tiers, so they can all follow the same thing, but it gives the availability to a lot more lot sizes.
You're talking about open space or lot? Because I think open space is typically a percentage, so 10, 20, 30.
Yeah, you wouldn't even tier them.
I mean, you could even hear it. Yeah, like the more acres you have, the less the smaller the percentages, but it might get complicated.
I'm just trying to find a way that, you know, it works for both, because they are similar in a lot of respects. And so if we could eliminate one, I think that makes our lives easier, and I think it makes a developer or a resident's life easier, because right now, I mean, there are so many looking through here that I feel like a lot of people who come to us for anything other than just AR1 and FR1 really have to dig to find what they want. People doing these things that the developers can see a lot worse than other people. Maybe, but you know, even from our end, is there a way that they can be one of the same, since there's so many similarities here?
One thing different on that, make it more having is different. So I think not, well, there's less. I still think we make a good point about, I don't know how to deal with the high voltage power line. So whether to just take that out and then have the stormwater detention as the only call out for. Fifteen is slow. And it's still 15. And it's kind of- it's probably rare because it's like that. Some of the open space is.
Well, for example, you have what, 22%?
So they have 5% somewhere else. So they consider
We're all together in it. So, thinking about what has happened. It's thinking about that. So you can use so property down to that's the bill. One 5 acre lot. And somebody bought that fell up and bought that property in the city, but when you begin to extend them with one street in there, it's called that. And instead of one house on the side, they have 4. Anyway, eventually, if you wanted to really look at a way to supply more house, that would be one of the. So that, even on 10 acres, instead of, yeah, you still set aside 25%. Well, maybe they put in 10.
Well, we also say that that's not good. It's more than half of it. Which we don't have the number not for.
More house. That would be something. So, between that and the down the line. Got a lot. I think it's wrong. But we don't work on it. All good money. Something got far, I think it is, but- Yes, we did. So when. And I can still work on this last thing where you're wrong, I can do a little bit on the first page, based on what we talked about. Yeah, but I know it's permanent, so, I guess one last thought I had is that you could, start. You really. And Financial and going to overlay. Well, that's why I'm asking.
And so if we want to improve CRTD, then let's make it the only option. Is my argument. Well, that's what I'm saying, figure out some way to word it in there that we're all comfortable with, that, you know, if you have 10 acres, you only need this much open space, whereas once you get larger, and a percentage does that for us.
Well,
They will be coming. A larger, a significant amount of open space around it.
So next time we do this, you can take a look at it. You want to do yeah, I think we need to table with everything. About it's gonna be together. Like of all the different, kind of like the color one that I made out first, so, yeah. And I know the simplified version is your spreadsheet, which you did before all this overlay, so. Just to be sure that we know, okay, well, that's exactly something here. Trying to get that all on one page. I think you see all the different, at least just real simple. I don't know that it's ready for. Maybe. Well, overlay. And I think Scott made a point earlier about we may want to put that possibility. Yeah, rather than waiting for. Hey, Monty.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, that we turn all in favor, say aye, aye, so we say. We are in the church, so we see you then, Scott, in October.